During the Depression, there was a harsh time known as the Dust Bowl. This led to soup lines, deaths, and a bad take on the crops, which would lead to hunger throughout our country. The Dust Bowl directly caused one of the massive stock crashes in history, which would lead to the Depression, and for years up until World War II, the United States will suffer from economic suffering.
Northern Texas, and it was an area which was originally with buffalo grass, and as the settlers came west, they took out the grass and planted, and ultimately what happened in late 1920s, there was a drought, several year drought, and finally they couldn't grow anything, and their houses and everything else were destroyed by the dust, and finally the banks came in and repossessed them, and many of those people who were in the Dust Bowl ultimately wound up in California and became, first of all, they became migrants, and some of them became big farmers in the Central Valley. They left Oklahoma because they couldn't make a living. There was no way to come, and they came out Route 66 and settled in the Central Valley of California, many of them. They're Texans and Oklahomans, and some Kansans also. I was born in Pennsylvania, lived on a farm, and I was fortunate because living on a farm, at least we had enough food, we could raise our own food. We were the lucky ones, the ones who lived in the city, had no jobs and no place to live.
City life in the Depression was hard. So hard that it led people to leave the city and to move out and to walk on their own all across the country. These people were known as hobos. If you stayed in the city, you could enter a soup line, but you wouldn't always get food. Eventually, we would develop welfare because of the harsh city life that we saw during the Depression, and the harsh poverty that was suffered by many people.
Those of us that were raised on a farm, we didn't have a lot of material things, but we never went for food, and that was the fortunate part about it. We raised our own meat, and we also raised our own vegetables, and we prepared things for the winter. So we got through the Depression with food. We didn't live high on the hog, but we had plenty to eat and a place to sleep. That was better than some people had in those days. You have to remember that some of the guys who were unemployed just hit the road. They became hobos, and they begged their way across the country, and they would come and knock on your door, believe it or not, and they'd ask for a handout, and they would be willing to do a day's work for a handout. And most of the times people cooperated. They helped them out, and everyone helped each other out, and that was the nice part about the Depression. The bad part about it was not having enough, but the nice part about it was people pulled together to get through. They were all in the same boat. You had 1/4 of the men in the country unemployed, so that there was no way they could, in any way, shape, or form, feed the family.